I would prefer that, thank you. Okay, as we're working through the process of curriculum review, another resource that we take a close look at are standardized test scores. Standardized test scores provide feedback for us in two ways. The first allows us to have an overview picture of the grade level as a whole, and with that data we can recognize trends in the grade level and in turn identify whether or not there are those gaps in our curriculum that Stacy talked about earlier. The second way is to focus on the student specifically. Now, I always caution students and parents when they're reading their test scores that those test scores, that data, is only as good as the effort that was put into the test on that test day. Whether or not they had a good night's sleep, are they feeling okay, did they get in a fight with their little sister on the way to school, all of that affects the results of that test ultimately. And we as educators are well aware of those outside factors too, and we rely on these scores simply as another tool to help us analyze our progress and the students' progress. We don't believe that the test scores should direct the path that we take with our curriculum, but we do take them into account when making decisions about what's taught.
Turn that mic off.
This one off. Sorry. Better?
Yes.
Okay. In the past year, students at ACS have taken the Stanford Achievement Tests, the SAT reports that you've seen come home. But last year, ACSI made a change to the Terra Nova exams. After researching test options, ACSI felt like Terra Nova provided the features that they were looking for. More current test data and score reporting, varied report options, and then data that's accessible online. Terra Nova also provided the connection to the academic standards that we were looking for, and the publisher of the test is actively making changes to accommodate the new Common Core standards as they become available with each curriculum area. This past spring, our students had the opportunity to take the Terra Novas, and we're very pleased with the new system and the information it's provided. You can see some of the overview results if you look at that elementary middle school report card that was in your packet tonight. Oops. Students in grades 1 through 5 perform significantly higher than their assessed ability level. And the middle school report shows the national percentile for each grade in the areas of reading, language, and math. Take a look at that starred grade 6 score of 88. As a national percentile score, this means that the top 25% of Aurora Christian 6th graders scored higher than 88% of 6th graders that took this exam nationally. So all of those scores need to be read the same way. So for example, in grade 7, the top half of the 7th graders scored better than 65% of 7th graders that took the exam. They're switching on me. Better? Off. Now, while we're looking at the report cards, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and flip it over and take a look at the high school report card, specifically the ACT averages. Now, we looked at these numbers once before at curriculum night at the beginning of the year, but I think it warrants taking another look at this data again tonight. Now, keep in mind that the state average for the ACT is a 20. The national average is a 21. When you look at the ACT scores for our class, last year's graduating class averaged a 24, the class as a whole. The top 50% averaged a 27, the top 20% a 29, and the top 10% of the graduating class of 2012 scored a 30, averaged a 30. Clearly, we are very happy with those results. They're well above the state and national averages, and we're excited about the steps that we're making to ensure that our students continue to achieve extremely competitive scores on their college entrance exams. Now go ahead and shift gears with me, and we'll get back to that Terra Nova result, which is the next page in your result packet. Like I said earlier, we take a look at the big picture that the test results provide for us, but we also want to know how each student is growing and gaining new skills. So I want to take just a minute tonight to walk you through the steps of how to read your child's test results so that you can have a better understanding of what the results mean to you in your home. If your child's in an elementary grade level, Terra Nova test results were already sent home, and you may have even brought them with you tonight. For middle school and high school students, your test results are available to be picked up tonight after the meeting right outside. Regardless of your child's grade level, we provide you with a sample score report in your packet tonight so that you can follow along and as I explain how to interpret the results. The first page that's in your packet and the first screenshot is the individual profile report. This individual profile report lists objectives on the page that are specific to your child's grade level. What's tested for an 11th grader in math is not the same as what's tested in a 2nd grader for math, clearly. So those objectives are specific to the grade level. Then that first column listed there with the student as the heading, I should say. This is the score that your child received on this exam in each of the objective areas. So you can see there's a separate score for each one as you go down. The next column over, the national OPI, is the number of items that your child was expected to answer correctly. The moderate mastery range is the range in which a student has some level of understanding. The goal, of course, would be for your child's score to be on the high end or above that moderate mastery range. Then all of that data, all of the numbers, are represented in the graph at the right. The gray bar is the moderate mastery range. The circle is the student's score. And then using the key at the bottom, you can see that if that dot's completely filled in, the student has high mastery. If it's half filled in, it's moderate mastery. And then if it's empty, it's low mastery. So that's the way to read the first page of the score report, which is specific to objectives at each grade level. The second page is the norm referenced scores. This page allows you to see how the student scored in the overall subject areas rather than the individual objectives that were listed on the first page. This report also lists the score, again using that national percentile terminology, represented by the first number in the column. This should be read as saying, for example, in the language composite area, this should be read as saying that this student scored better than 68% of 5th graders that took this language composite test. So you need to associate that phrase with each of these numbers as you read them. It's not a percentage, it's a percentile rank. The national percentile range is given to show that if this student were to take this test again, their score would likely fall in this range. And then again, the number data is represented in the graph to the right, showing that the national average is between a 25 and a 75, which is the thick gray bar down the center. And the student score is the diamond. And the score range is that bar. The third test result page that's in your packet tonight are the in-view scores. Now, students in grades 3, 5, 7, and 10 take this extra exam called the in-view. If your students didn't take this exam this year, then you can expect to see these results this year in the spring when they take it again. This test provides a cognitive skills index. This portion of the exam measures the skills that underlie academic performance. So not computation or vocabulary, it's more the skills that assist and aid understanding. Skills related to memory, perception, reasoning, etc. The results are given in two forms. The first is a national percentile by age, the NPA, and then the national percentile by grade, the NPG. Particularly at the elementary grade levels, a young 3rd grader can often have very different cognitive skills than the 3rd grader he sits next to in class that's almost an entire year older, given their birth dates. So reporting it this way helps to level that playing field a little bit, and you can really see a better comparison of where your child stands compared to the students in their class. Again, these scores should be read by saying that the student scored better than 70% of third graders that took the analogies test with that national percentile title. The graph shows the data for the national percentile by grade. So only one is represented on the graph to the right. Then the overall cognitive skills score is listed at the bottom. It's a CSI is the number that's listed there. 2/3 of students score between an 84 and a 116, sort of the average range, with a mean and average of 100. As you can see overall by the Terra Nova test results, we are excited about this new system and all the data that it gives us. We feel like this is a critical piece in the ongoing process of curriculum development, and we hope that with each year you'll start to see the difference that it's making in your own child's academic performance when it comes to the test results.